Hello, my name is Matt Bruns. I was in a very severe accident 3 months ago, and God has just done so much in my life, and I'm here to get interviewed about it.
Can you tell us the exact dates of your accident?
Yeah, it was September 3rd, 2025.
Matthew, can you take us back to the day of the accident? What do you remember, or what have others told you about what happened?
So I remember it was the first day of school, but we only had one class, and I remember that pretty well. And then I went over to my friend Miles's house, and I remember that pretty well. Just 30 minutes before it happened, it's a little foggy. I remember like waiting at the top of the hill and my friend's going down the hill, and then he's about to race me, but I do not remember that at all. I've just been told.
What do you remember about what your injuries were?
So I had a broken clavicle, broken humerus, broken jaw, sprained neck, severe concussions, and a brain bleed.
Okay. Do you remember feeling any of those?
Well, after obviously I felt all of them, but not obviously the brain bleed.
So, from the time of your accident to the time you woke up, how many days have passed?
So it was 3 days, but I don't really remember that Friday. I remember that Saturday just a little bit.
And when you woke up after being unconscious, what was the first thing you felt?
My ribs were hurting. That's all I remember. Ribs were hurting, my knee was hurting, and my jaw was hurting a lot.
When you woke up after being unconscious, what was the first thing you thought?
I have no clue.
What is your first memory?
So I remember on that Saturday, it was the evening. I remember me and my dad were just having a conversation, and the reason I remember it was because he was tearing up.
So, Matthew, your recovery was incredibly fast. How do you see God's hand in all of this?
I mean, I'm just so incredibly thankful for all he's done in me and my family's life. That's pretty much it. I've gotten so much better. I have no more symptoms anywhere.
What are you hoping this interview or this conversation, what are you hoping it will do for others?
I'm hoping it can bring people closer to Christ, and that it can make people realize, like, wow, you could be gone like that at any second, so you should be closer to God, you should be more thankful, and all that stuff.
How has this changed you?
It's changed my maturity level a lot. I've gotten a lot more mature, I've gotten a lot more respectful, and I've gotten a lot more closer to God.
Was there a moment that felt like a turning point, a specific moment, a time when you knew that things were going to be okay? Do you remember that time?
I don't, they probably do. But I can tell from all the pictures and stuff, that Monday to that Tuesday was a huge jump.
How do you feel looking back at those pictures and knowing how serious it was? How do you kind of internalize that now?
It's just kind of crazy because now I'm like perfectly fine. And it's just like in the hospital, my memory's still a little foggy of that. It's just like, wow, it was that bad.
So when you think about your time before the accident, and now you have this time after the accident,
Mm-hmm.
What would you like to, let's say you're looking at this 10 years from now, what do you take away from who you were before then and who you are now?
Yeah, I'm still pretty immature because I'm only 13, but I was very immature. I was not as respectful. I was not that close to God, but now it's the opposite of all those.
Do you feel like God used this to do that for you?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I'm really thankful about it. Like I tell my parents, I think it's the best and the worst thing that's ever happened to me because I've changed so much in a good way. But obviously I was knocking on death's doorstep, so it wasn't a good thing for those first 4 weeks.
If you had a message for other kids that you're your age, what would that be?
Wear a bike helmet.
Okay.
That is the only thing. Wear a bike helmet and stay close to God. That is the only thing.
Is there anything else that you wanted to share? Any memories, anything that stuck out to you?
I mean, I definitely had a lot of funny moments in the hospital, but they were all pretty sad. But I just remember how good my bed felt when I laid down in it for the first time. I mean, it was amazing.
Families in general use humor to get through tough times, especially when you kind of start seeing the situation getting to the end of, you see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you think, okay, this is going to eventually go, it's going to get better. And then that's when kind of the jokes fly around. Did you guys have any experiences like that?
A lot of them. The funniest one is it was on Saturday. I was trying to fall asleep. I was kind of whining, and my mom was just like, "What's wrong?" And I was just like, 1, everything hurts. 2, everything hurts. 3, it's tax season. That's by far the funniest. I mean, I must have been having like a nightmare or something, because that was not normal. I mean, I never think about taxes. I've never talked about taxes.
Do you remember any other funny moments?
There were definitely funny moments. I don't really remember what was said, but there were a lot of other funny moments. I said I was LeBron James. I said I was Steph Curry. I said I was in Florida. I said I was in North Carolina.
You were serious?
Yeah, I was serious. I was not joking.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Steph. My apologies. Do you guys have any questions you want to ask?
The other funny thing was when you were still delirious, you were wondering, how did the helicopter land?
Oh, right. Yeah, I got medevaced from Parkton, Maryland, all the way to Johns Hopkins in 10 minutes. I was just like, how did the helicopter land? And my sister was like, what do you mean? And I was just like, well, I was hanging from it, right? Because I thought I was like hanging from it, like on the cord, like in the body
Like
bag
in
kind
the
of thing.
movies.
Yeah, in the movies.
So, no, I'm kidding. Okay. Well, before I end this, I want to say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you.
We appreciate all that you have gone through, and we don't take it for granted, and we're grateful to have you still with us.
Thank you. Also, I just want to thank everybody for all the prayers, all the support, all the gifts. I mean, that was so helpful. I mean, I was on a soft food diet for 6 weeks, and the only thing I could really eat was mac and cheese and soup. So there was a lot of Panera used in that.
I'll just keep moving straight, 'cause God's got my back. Even when I fall or get attacked, God's got my back. Even when I'm low and full of lack, God's got my back. Even when my soul is full of sorrow, I don't have to worry about tomorrow. Why is that? 'Cause God's got my life inside of his hands, favor on all my plans, a roof to keep away the rain, and blessings that outweigh the pain. Oh, your way is better, you make no mistake.
All right, so who are you guys?
Jeff and Mary Bruns. We're Matt's parents.
All right, so as Matthew has shared his story and his experience with the bike accident, just kind of walk us through your experience.
Well, I was teaching the first day of high school at our school, and I had just finished teaching my class. And a friend of mine came into the office and said, Mary, your son has been in a bike accident and he needs to go to the hospital. You need to leave now and go. And so, you know, the first thing that happens is your body starts to feel like jello and you kind of feel like you're almost in a tunnel. I felt God's peace, though, which, you know, known over many years that we can trust him in all things. So my friend took me to the hospital. I called Jeff. Well, actually, my friend called Jeff, but then in the car I called him because my friend drove me down to Hopkins. We saw the helicopter flying overhead and pieced it together that that was the actual helicopter that he was in. So we got to the hospital. When I got there, Jeff was already there and my daughter Sarah was already there. And they had just brought Matt in. Apparently he was very, very agitated and upset. They intubated him so we could see his little foot, and about 20 doctors and other staff hanging around him. And there's probably another 20 to 30 people in the hallway. The chaplain met us right away. So it was very surreal and overwhelming. What would you say?
Yeah, mine is similar. I was teaching and I got a call where I was that I needed to come to the office because I had a phone call, which doesn't happen very often. So I was just kind of thinking like, okay, what's up? So I get there and it was your friend Chrissy. And she just says that, hey, Matt was, over at a friend's house and he's had a bike accident and they're taking him down to Hopkins by helicopter. And that's all that she said. So I hung up and I went to my boss and said I had to leave. My son was in an accident. She's like, that's fine. So as I was driving, I got to thinking like, they only use the helicopter to take people to Hopkins if there's something really serious. And so that's when as I was driving, I was starting to put it together like, okay, this could be something really, really serious. And then we talked on the phone. You didn't have many details either. And then when we got there, when I parked in the garage, I saw the helicopter on the roof already and tried to get into the peds OR. And we finally got back and it was just like the scene out of like one of the movies or something. You see your son in this room and there's like all these doctors and nurses. They're all moving very quickly and there's all these machines and things going nutty. And you're just like, what is going on?
For each of you, what were some of the hardest moments during his recovery and how did you get through them?
I think initially for me, one of the hardest moments was, that happened on a Wednesday. And so, we didn't really know what was going on when we first got there. And it was probably like a good hour from the time we got to the hospital to when one of the doctors actually came out to try to talk to us about what was happening. And they still didn't have all the information yet. They were still waiting for tests. And so those couple of hours when we were waiting till we finally had some sort of idea, like what had happened and like what was happening for Matt, like what his injuries were, those were really hard because all we could see was him being sedated, intubated, and you're just like, what is going on? So that was really hard.
Yeah. And they showed us the scan and we could see the brain pooling in his blood, and they showed us this other injury. They thought he had a stroke. It actually wasn't a stroke. It was just the impact of one of the injuries mimics a stroke. So he wasn't really moving his right side of his body. I think it was really hard for me that they didn't really have any idea what to expect. And it was very hard watching when they would wake him, when they bring him a little bit out of the coma so that he could respond. And they would stand at the foot of his bed and they'd have to pinch him or they'd have to, yell, hey, Matthew, squeeze my finger. And he wasn't responding to those things. I think that was very hard to watch. And when he would wake up, he would be in a lot of pain. So obviously it's really hard to watch your child be in pain. So
I would like, just off the top of my head, I would like you guys to kind of just, whatever is on your heart, to kind of speak to the preciousness of our kids. I don't think sometimes they realize how precious they are to us.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about having your baby, your youngest child going through this?
Yeah.
And what you were dealing with internally with that?
Yeah, I think, as parents, we would do anything for our kids. When they're hurting, we're hurting. When they're afraid, we just feel so much compassion for them, and you trade places with them in a heartbeat. And it's just really, it's very sobering to watch them suffer. And yet we know that God allows it and brings it for reasons that are good. And so there's a lot of hope, but it's really hard to be a parent in a situation like this.
I think it's just, we have 4 kids and Matt is the youngest of the 4, and just the whole idea of like how God has ordained life on earth, of like 2 people coming together, a man and a wife coming together, getting married, and then having kids. Like it's just having this little tiny baby, and Matt's older siblings are all now adults, and just seeing the progression of how these little people become adults. And it's just this cycle of life that God has ordained on earth. It's just amazing. And then to think like he's entrusted us to have to raise and protect and guard and shepherd and steer these little people into becoming adults and being, a full functioning member of society. Like it's just this amazing, humbling task that he's given to us.
Yeah.
Privilege. But then at the same time, and then you have all this hard stuff that happens, accidents and pain and some suffering, and just like you just live through it all.
I think another moment that was really hard was when Matt was in rehab. He was in a rehab hospital for almost a week, and he was told that he probably wouldn't play baseball for 6 to 12 months. Obviously, you're thankful that they're saying he'll be able to play baseball at some point, but I think that was really hard for him to hear. So then that was really hard for us, that it could take so long for him to get back to doing something that he loves doing so much.
I was going to say too, at the rehab place, it was an amazing facility. We're very thankful, but like we were ready to go like a few days before they were ready for us to go. And so Matt and I, we even contemplated like, I wonder if we could break out. I'll break you out.
I'm glad you didn't tell me that.
I'll see if I can bust you out of here, boy.
I want to ask the same question that I asked Matt. Was there a moment that felt like a turning point, a time when you knew that things were going to be okay?
I think for me on that Saturday, when he did finally start to wake up and he started to be able to have conversations, and we had like a good conversation about like what had happened and a lot of just ramifications about what had happened. And it was just like, okay, he's back. He's not totally back and he's a long way to go, but I could see him again. You know what I mean? I could see his personality. I could see him thinking. I could see that yeah, he's there. It's just going to take a while for the physical body to start to heal and come back, but he's still there. He's still Matt.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know if it was Sunday or what day it was, but when he was finally able to drink and he wanted a Chick-fil-A lemonade, and I had to drive like way out of the way to find a Chick-fil-A to get him a lemonade. And it just meant so much to him. And then to see him start finally walking again and hearing him talk and have conversations, it was, those were some great moments.
Was there ever a time that the doctors ever said, or that you guys even contemplated, that he may not be able to walk?
It was possible that he wouldn't even survive. With the brain bleed, they had no idea what to expect. They told us that first night that they would be taking an MRI or a CT scan, I'm not sure which, every 6 hours to see what was going on with the bleeding. And that was going to be a huge determining factor of how things went for Matthew. We were told he could be in the ICU for weeks, that they just really didn't know. It's amazing with all the technology and all the medical knowledge that they still didn't know. Only God knew. It was very surreal.
Yeah.
Have you been able to talk with any of the nurses or doctors since, and have they seen his recovery?
We were at a follow-up appointment 2 weeks ago, and Matt and I decided, let's go back and go to the 2 floors he stayed in, and just to kind of give him the lay of the land, and so he could see where he was. So he got to see his room. There were only 2 staff members when we went back to visit that had seen him, but they both recognized him, and they were so amazed and happy with his progress. And I think that was really a neat thing. And I would like to go back. There were some special staff people there that I would love to be able to see and thank. The overwhelming consensus of all of Matt's medical providers was how amazed they are at how quickly and how well he's recovered.
How has this experience strengthened your faith?
Well, I think for me, I mean, we've been walking with the Lord for a long time, and it's just another story of how faithful God has been to us as a couple and a family through all the years that we've been together with our kids and everything. It's just, I mean, obviously this is like a really, really a lot bigger and more dramatic kind of intervention by the Lord of healing than what we've ever experienced. But it's just another thing. I think of like, in the Old Testament, like when Moses and Joshua would tell the people to like write these things down like on their doorposts and to make a monument out of rocks. And so that way when your kids would ask you, what's that pile of rocks over there, Mommy? Then you could say, well, that's when the Lord, did that. And it's just, for me, it's just another example, another part of our story of how he just continues to provide and protect and watch over us.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like God was with us through it, and he would have been with us no matter what happened. Obviously, we couldn't have asked for a better outcome. So that brings a new level of thankfulness to my heart every day. And when I see and interact with Matt, I just maybe squeeze him a little tighter and try to make him hug me a little bit longer than he might otherwise as his 13-year-old self.
What kind of support did you receive from family and friends in your community during this time?
The outpouring from our family and friends and community was incredible. From the minute I started making phone calls, we knew that people would want to head down, and nobody was able to come down for a while. So we asked people not to come down right away. But then as soon as Matt was able to have visitors, we knew that there were some friends that we really wanted to see and that really wanted to see us. And so we had some people come to the hospital, and we had meals for weeks. And then we had meals, gift cards for so many weeks past that, which was just an enormous help. I mean, Jeff and I were taking turns spending the night at the hospital. So one of us would go home, the other would spend the night, and there's just no time to grocery shop or to think about anything other than, let me get home, get a shower, change my clothes, and then get back to the hospital. People were praying. We're still finding out even today about people that we didn't even know, people that we don't know that were praying for Matt. And Matt acknowledged in the hospital that he knew that it was the prayers of the people of God that God was answering. So it was an enormous support from beginning to end.
If someone listening to this or watching this is facing their own difficult season, what message of hope would you want to share with them?
I would want to say that I would never want to go through a season like this or an incident like this without knowing God. I can't imagine the terror that a parent would feel at the possible loss of their child, or the possible loss of the dreams of a child who might now be paralyzed, who might now be in a coma, who might now not ever be able to really live what we consider to be a normal life again. I don't know how you go through things like that without knowing God's love for us, knowing that he's our creator and that he sent his son to suffer and die for us so that we could be forgiven of all of our sins and have a relationship with him now and forever. And I think, so often we think about the forever part when we're talking about a relationship with God, but knowing God and his love and his faithfulness and his strength, and knowing that anything that happens, that he will work for the good of those who love him all the time. I think those are the things that make you feel like you could get through anything because you know his goodness and his power. So I would just encourage anyone to get to know God now so that when the hard things of life happen, you'll already know him and you'll already know that he's your rock and your fortress.
Yeah. I would just kind of say the same thing of like, one thing that was kind of interesting is like when I would interact with people outside of like our family or our church friends, that kind of thing about what was happening, maybe people at work or, other acquaintances, and they would ask about Matt, I would tell them how well he was doing. They'd be like, wow, that's a miracle. That sounds like a miracle. That's miraculous. I'd be like, yeah, God works in miracles. And then like when I would bring up about just how faithful God was to it, then people would kind of like back away from the conversation a little bit. Like they would be willing to like kind of go to like this place of a miracle. But then when I would go to the place of like, where is the source of the miracle? they would kind of shy away back again. And I would just say, don't shy away. Embrace the one who provides the miracles. Because, I mean, obviously, God has allowed Matt to be healed, and we've had a really great positive outcome from that, and we're very thankful.
Yeah.
But regardless of the outcome, God is the one who provides the miracles. And you never know, you just don't know what's in store from a day to day, and to embrace the one who provides miracles.